The air in Kaduna that evening carried both dust and despair. The sun had started to fall behind the low brown roofs of the market, painting everything in gold and red. Hawkers shouted from every corner, "Zobo! Cold Zobo! Recharge card! Airtime here!" The rumble of yellow Kiki Napeps filled the streets. It was the hour when tired traders trudged home and streetlights began to flicker like lazy fireflies. But for Aisha Musa, it was another day of small disappointments. Her slippers slapped the rough ground as she walked out of the big mall's back gate, her nylon bag holding leftover puff-puff and a half bottle of water. She had cleaned the restrooms all day, yet she was being told again that her salary would come next week. Next week. It had been next week for 2 months. She sighed deeply, shifting her scarf around her shoulders as she joined the moving crowd toward Unguan Rimi bus stop. The scent of roasted corn from a roadside vendor mixed with exhaust fumes, teasing her empty stomach. She had just 40 naira left, barely enough for the Kiki ride home. Ahead, she saw something strange. People gathered in a loose circle near the corner of the old express. At first, Aisha thought it was a fight. Then she saw an elderly woman sitting on the pavement, her gray scarf half torn, her hand trembling as she tried to lift a small black handbag. Nobody helped her. They just passed by, muttering. "I beg, no go near that woman, oh," one man shouted. "Dem say she be witch." Aisha stopped. Her eyes narrowed. The woman looked harmless, frail, thin, her wrapper dusty from the ground. Her lips were dry and cracked. Witch or no witch, Aisha muttered under her breath, she be a human being. She stepped forward. The crowd parted slightly, whispering. Some laughed. "See this poor cleaner. She won't show herself." One of the Kiki riders sneered. Aisha ignored them. She crouched beside the old woman. "Mama, you day okay?" The woman raised her head slowly. Her eyes were deep brown, tired but sharp. "Water, my daughter. Just water." Aisha quickly opened her nylon and handed her the half bottle. "Not small remain but drink am." The woman took it with trembling hands and drank greedily. Then she coughed. Aisha supported her gently, patting her back. "Easy, mama. Take 'em small. The woman smiled faintly. "Thank you. You are kind." Aisha shook her head. "No talk that one. Not small thing." Then, suddenly, the old woman's body went limp. Her head tilted backward. "Mama! Mama!" Aisha shouted, shaking her gently. No response. The small crowd gasped. Someone hissed. "She don't die. I talking before, nah witch. Nah lie." Aisha barked. She still day breathe. She looked around desperately. "I beg, making to help me carry her go hospital." But no one moved. The fear was thick. Aisha stood up, tears of frustration stinging her eyes. Una get mouth to gossip, but no heart to help. She knelt back, lifted the woman's frail body onto her lap, and with every ounce of strength she had left, dragged her toward the side of the road. A passing taxi slowed. The driver, a middle-aged man with a gruff beard, rolled down his window. "Sister, what happened?" She faint. "I don't know when do am. I beg, carry us go hospital," Aisha said breathlessly. He hesitated. "Hospital no far, but money in KO?" Aisha pressed her nylon into his hand. "Nah, only 40 naira I get. I go pay balance later, I beg." The man sighed, looked at the unconscious woman, then nodded. "Enter." Aisha helped the old woman into the back seat, cradling her head against her shoulder. As the taxi sped off toward Barao Dikko Hospital, the city lights flickered past like fireflies. Inside, Aisha whispered softly, "Mama, I beg no die. I beg you. I no fit watch you die like this." At the hospital, nurses rushed forward. They lifted the old woman onto a stretcher. Aisha followed anxiously, barefoot now after losing one slipper in the rush. "Are you family?" a nurse asked. "No, I just see her for road." "Then you can't stay," the nurse said firmly. Aisha shook her head. "I go stay. I no get anywhere to go. Please." The nurse hesitated, then nodded. "Sit there. Wait." Minutes passed. The smell of antiseptic filled the waiting area. Aisha clasped her hands tightly, whispering prayers under her breath. After what felt like forever, the doctor came out. He was tall, light-skinned, in a white coat, holding a clipboard. She's stable now. Low blood sugar, dehydration, and exhaustion. She needs rest. Aisha's shoulders dropped in relief. Thank God. The doctor studied her face. You're not related? No, sir. I just help. He nodded slowly, as if memorizing her face. You did good. Not many people would stop. She smiled faintly. Now what do we suppose do as human beings? He patted her shoulder gently. She'll wake soon. You can see her. When the old woman opened her eyes, she looked around in confusion. Aisha rushed to her bedside. Mama, you day hospital. You go day fine. The woman blinked slowly. You didn't leave me? Aisha smiled. Where I forgo. The woman stared at her for a long moment, then whispered, What is your name? Aisha Musa. Do you work here? She laughed softly. No, Mama. I day clean toilets from all. The woman's lips curved into a small smile. Cleaner, but your heart is pure. I beg, Mama, rest. You two talk go make you weak again. But the woman's eyes glistened. She reached for Aisha's hand. My daughter, may heaven remember you. Before Aisha could respond, the hospital door burst open. Two men in black suits entered, followed by a young man in his early 30s, wearing an expensive navy blue kaftan and dark sunglasses. His shoes alone looked like her 6-month salary. Where is she? The young man barked. A nurse pointed toward the bed. There. The young man's expression softened instantly as he saw the old woman. Mama, he cried, rushing forward. Aisha froze. She hadn't expected this. The young man took his mother's hand, tears welling up. Mama, what happened? You disappeared from the driver. The old woman smiled weakly. I wanted to walk alone. Then I fell. He turned to Aisha. You helped her? Yes, sir, she said nervously. He removed his sunglasses. His eyes were sharp and intense. Do you know who she is? Aisha shook her head slowly. I just see one old woman way faint. I know no say she, he interrupted quietly. She's my mother. Aisha blinked. Your mother? Yes. And I am Tahir Suleiman. The name hit her like thunder. Everyone in Kaduna knew that name. The billionaire oil magnate whose companies built half the city. She stared at him, words failing. The old woman squeezed her hand gently. You saved me, Aisha, and you've saved more than you know. Tahir turned to her again, his expression unreadable. What did you say your name was? Aisha Musa. He studied her for a long moment. You have no idea what you just done. The monitor beeped softly in the background. Outside, the rain began to fall lightly against the hospital windows, like whispers of fate. Aisha looked from mother to son, confused and trembling. Please, I know understand. The old woman smiled faintly. You will, my child. You will. And then, just before the lights flickered from the storm outside, the doctor rushed back in, his face pale. Wait, something's wrong with her heart. Alarms blared. Nurses ran. Tahir shouted for help as the monitor flatlined. Aisha gasped, gripping the old woman's cold hand. Mama. No, Mama. The storm outside roared louder. And in that moment, with chaos around her, Aisha's life, simple, poor, and invisible, was about to change forever. Rain poured through the night like heaven itself was crying. The hospital corridors smelled of antiseptic and heartbreak. Aisha sat on a cold plastic chair outside the emergency ward, her scarf damp, her slippers gone. Nurses rushed in and out through the double doors, their shoes squeaking on the wet floor. Inside, the doctors were still working on the old woman, Tahir's mother. But Aisha had seen enough hospitals to know what silence after shouting usually meant. Tahir stood at the doorway, both hands on his head, his designer kaftan soaked with rain. The two security men in black suits stood helplessly at the far end, their faces blank. When the doctor finally came out, his shoulders sagged. We tried our best, he said quietly. She didn't make it. Tahir froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came. Then he turned, walked back into the room, and dropped to his knees beside the still body of his mother. Aisha's chest tightened. She wanted to comfort him, but she was a cleaner, a nobody. What right did she have to stand beside a billionaire in grief? Still, something pushed her forward. She stepped into the room slowly. The rain outside was now just a whisper. The old woman's face was calm, like someone sleeping after a long journey. Aisha bent down and touched her cold hand. Mama, you say heaven go remember me. But who go remember you now? Tahir looked up sharply. His eyes were red, his jaw tight. What did she tell you? Aisha hesitated. Nothing bad, sir. She just thanked me. She say, heaven go remember me. Tahir stared at her for a moment, then looked away. He stood up, pulled off his wristwatch, and placed it beside his mother's hand like an offering. She always believed in destiny, he said bitterly. She said God hides blessings in the poorest hands. Maybe she was right. Aisha stepped back. The words hit her chest like stones. 2 days later, the news spread through Kaduna like wildfire. Billionaire's mother dies in market collapse. Tahir Suleiman's mother found by unknown woman. But no one mentioned Aisha's name. She sat in her small one-room house that night. The newspaper spread across her lap. Her neighbor, Hawa, peeked in from the doorway, chewing groundnuts. Aisha, now you help that woman ABI? Aisha sighed. Yes. God go bless you, oh. But you know go greet the man? Maybe he fit help you small. Aisha shook her head. I know do am for reward. I just pity her. Hawa laughed. Nah, pity go kill you one day. She popped another groundnut into her mouth and left. Aisha folded the newspaper carefully and looked at the picture again. Tahir in dark sunglasses at the burial, surrounded by men in suits. His face was hard, unreadable. Maybe he no even remember me, she whispered. But he did. 3 days later, she was scrubbing the tiled floor of the mall restroom when a soft voice said behind her, You're Aisha Musa, right? She turned. Standing there was a woman in a black blazer, sleek hair tied back, her face sharp and polished. Yes, ma, Aisha said nervously. The woman smiled faintly. Mr. Tahir Suleiman would like to see you. Aisha blinked. Me? Yes. Now. A sleek black SUV waited outside the mall. As it drove through Kaduna's bustling streets, Aisha stared out the window, still smelling faintly of cleaning detergent. The city looked different from behind tinted glass, quieter, smaller. They passed hawkers, beggars, school children, all drenched in the late morning sun. The driver didn't speak until they reached a massive white mansion surrounded by palm trees. The gates opened silently. Aisha's mouth fell open. She had never seen anything so big in her life. The marble driveway alone looked cleaner than the mall she scrubbed daily. The woman in the blazer led her inside. Please wait here. The living room was larger than her entire street. Chandeliers sparkled overhead. A massive painting of an elderly woman hung on the far wall, Tahir's mother. Aisha felt her knees weaken. She whispered a small prayer. God, now what did I do here? Then she heard footsteps. Tahir entered, wearing a simple white kaftan. His face was calm, but his eyes were tired. He stopped a few feet from her. Sit. She hesitated. Sir, I said sit. She sat. He studied her for a long time before speaking. My mother died with peace in her heart because of you. I wanted to thank you properly. Aisha bowed her head. I no do anything special, sir. Anybody for help am. He smiled faintly. Anybody didn't. Silence hung between them. Then he added, She left a letter. For you. Aisha's eyes widened. For me? He nodded. He handed her an envelope with shaky handwriting. Her name was on it, Aisha Musa. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short note written in careful cursive. My daughter, if you're reading this, it means I am gone. God sent you to remind me that kindness still lives in this world. You didn't help me because of who I was, but because of who you are. For that, I have already told Tahir what to do for you. Don't reject the blessing, even if it frightens you. May heaven remember you, always. Mama Zara. Aisha's lips trembled as she finished reading. Sir, I don't understand. Tahir leaned forward. She gave you something before she died. Aisha frowned. She no give me anything. He smiled slightly. She did. You just don't know it yet. That night, Aisha couldn't sleep. She lay on her thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. What did he mean by that? The next morning, she woke up to banging on her door. Aisha. It was Hawa again, panting and wide-eyed. Come see something outside. Aisha stumbled to the door, tying her scarf. Parked in front of her tiny house was the same black SUV. Two men were unloading a huge box. The woman in the blazer stood beside it, smiling. Compliments of Mr. Tahir. Aisha stared. What is this? The woman handed her a folded paper. An employment letter and keys. Keys? Yes. You now work at Suleiman Foundation headquarters. Starting tomorrow. And that, she pointed at the box, is your new sewing machine. He said your mother used to sew. Aisha's knees gave way. She grabbed the door frame for balance. Ya Allah. The woman smiled. He said you earned it. Later that evening, Aisha sat by the sewing machine, running her fingers over the shiny surface. Her late mother's face flashed in her mind. Mama, see your Pekin, she whispered, tears falling freely. But her peace didn't last long. As she sewed a small scarf, her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello. A cold male voice replied. You think you can take what's not yours? Aisha's heart skipped. Who is this? The line crackled. You helped that woman, yes? That was your biggest mistake. The call ended. Aisha sat frozen, phone trembling in her hand. Outside, the evening call to prayer echoed through Kaduna. The sky glowed crimson. Somewhere in the distance, a black car idled quietly, its tinted windows reflecting the fading sun. And for the first time since she met the old woman, Aisha realized this wasn't just a blessing. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The next morning, the call still echoed in Aisha's mind like a curse. You helped that woman, yes? That was your biggest mistake. She had barely slept. Every sound outside her one-room house made her heart jump. The barking of stray dogs, the creak of her wooden door, even the wind brushing against the metal roof. By dawn, her eyes were swollen from exhaustion. She wrapped her scarf tightly around her head and whispered, God, please protect me. I know offend anybody. By 7 a.m., the Suleiman Foundation driver arrived. Aisha locked her house carefully and followed him to the compound. The foundation's headquarters stood near the Kaduna Golf Club, massive, white, with tinted windows and a marble entrance. The kind of place she used to clean, not walk into. Inside, the air smelled of polish and perfume. Men in suits walked briskly past. The receptionist, a young lady with red lipstick and a neat weave, gave Aisha a suspicious look when she introduced herself. You are Miss Aisha Musa. Yes, ma. One moment. She made a quick call, then smiled stiffly. Mr. Tahir will see you shortly. Please have a seat. Aisha nodded and sat carefully on the leather chair, clutching her small bag to her chest. The air conditioner hummed softly, making her shiver. After a few minutes, the same woman from before, the one in the black blazer, appeared in motion for her to follow. They entered an office that looked more like a small museum. Expensive paintings, a crystal chandelier, and a huge window overlooking the city. Behind the mahogany desk sat Tahir Suleiman in a crisp white kaftan, scrolling through his tablet. He looked up as they entered. Aisha, he said simply. Good morning, sir. He gestured for her to sit. I hope the sewing machine arrived safely. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I know fit pay you back. He smiled faintly. You already did. She hesitated, unsure how to respond. Then he leaned back, his tone changing. Aisha, I know someone called you yesterday. Her eyes widened. Sir, his gaze was steady. You looked frightened when you came in. I recognize fear when I see it. She gripped her bag tighter. Sir, I know Wallah. I just want to work and mind my business. Tahir exhaled slowly. You're not in trouble, but whoever called you might be dangerous. She swallowed. Who Demby? He tapped the desk gently. I wish I knew, but ever since my mother died, things have changed. He stood up and walked to the window. Before she passed, she told me she suspected someone close to me wanted her gone. Someone in my company. Aisha froze. You mean they kill her? Tahir's voice lowered. The doctors said heart failure, but I know my mother. She was strong, too strong to just fall on the road like that. The words hung in the air like smoke. Aisha's mind raced. Sir, I don't know anything. I just see her for ground that day. I swear. He turned to her quickly. I believe you, Aisha. That's why I want you to stay close, for your own safety. My safety, she whispered. He nodded. If someone wanted her dead, they'll come after anyone connected to her. That includes you. Aisha felt her stomach tighten. Sir, I know even get phone before. Not only small one way I buy last year. I know get money. I know get name. Why anybody go disturb me? Tahir gave a small smile. Because sometimes power doesn't chase the rich. It chases the truth. By evening, Aisha returned home with her heart pounding. She locked her door, shut her windows, and sat quietly by her sewing machine. The hum of the neighborhood felt heavier than usual. Children played outside, their laughter distant. The muezzin's call to prayer floated through the air. Then she saw it, a shadow at her window. Her breath caught. She stood slowly, her hands trembling. The shadow moved again, like someone crouching outside. She crept to the window and yanked the curtain aside. Nothing, just the dim street light flickering. She exhaled shakily. Maybe not wind. Then her phone buzzed. She jumped. The screen showed an unknown number again. Her throat went dry. She answered slowly. Hello. No voice this time. Just breathing. Heavy. Slow. Who be this? Still silence. Then a whisper. Leave him alone. The call ended. Aisha dropped the phone. Her hand was shaking so badly she had to sit down. She wanted to call Tahir, but what would she even say? She covered her face and whispered, God, this blessing dawn turn walla. The next day, when she arrived at work, the atmosphere was tense. Security men stood at every door. The receptionist avoided eye contact. Inside the office, Tahir looked different. Angry, restless. Aisha, he said without greeting, someone broke in my mother's old house last night. Aisha gasped. To do what? They took her jewelry box, the one she always kept under her bed. He began pacing. The strange thing is, they didn't touch the gold or cash. They only took one thing. What thing? A small brown diary. Aisha frowned. Diary? What? I don't know yet, he said, rubbing his temple. But if they risked breaking in for that, it must hold something valuable. Maybe names. He paused, looking at her. Did my mother tell you anything before she fainted? Anything strange? Aisha shook her head. No, sir. She just say, make heaven remember me. He sighed deeply. Then heaven better do it quickly, because something dangerous is coming. That night, Aisha decided to take the sewing machine to her neighbor's house for safety. But when she turned it around, a small envelope fell out from underneath it, taped to the metal base. Her name was written on it, in the same handwriting as the letter Mama Zara had left. Her heart raced as she opened it. Inside was a folded paper and an old photograph. Mama Zara standing beside two men. One was younger Tahir, the other. Aisha froze. The third man was the same driver who had dropped her off at the hospital that night. And the note read, If you are reading this, Aisha, then they have already come for what I hid. Tell my son the driver knows everything. Aisha's hands shook. The driver, the same one who had looked her in the eyes that night and said nothing. She dropped the letter, her heart thudding loud. From outside, an engine roared softly. Headlights flashed through her window for a brief moment, then vanished. Someone was watching her again. The next morning, before dawn, there was a knock at her door. She hesitated, then opened slowly. It was Tahir, without his bodyguards, without his usual calm. His face was pale. Pack your things, Aisha, he said quickly. We're leaving now. Why? They know you have the letter. Her stomach dropped. Sir, how? He cut her off. No time. We have to go before they find you. But where we day go? Abuja, he said sharply. To find the driver before they do. He grabbed her bag, his voice low and urgent. If my mother was right, the truth she died for is buried there. As they stepped out into the cold Kaduna dawn, a black car parked down the street turned on its headlights and began to follow. The city was just waking up. Roosters crowed, Muezzin's voice called for prayer. And in that quiet moment, Aisha realized she was running for her life. The Kaduna-Abuja expressway stretched endlessly under the early morning sun, shimmering with heat and tension. Dust trailed behind the black SUV as it sped down the road, slicing through the silence that only the northern highways knew. Aisha sat in the passenger seat, her hands clenched on her lap. Her scarf flapped slightly in the wind from the half-open window. She had never left Kaduna before. Everything, her home, her job, her life, was there. But now she was running with a billionaire who said people wanted them both dead. "Sir," she said softly, "you sure say this thing no too dangerous? Maybe we suppose tell police." Tahir's eyes stayed on the road. "Police?" He laughed bitterly. "Aisha, half the people wearing uniform in this country work for money, not for justice. And whoever we're dealing with has a lot of both." Aisha frowned. "Then who we day run from exactly?" He hesitated before answering. "People my mother trusted. People close to me." The words hung in the hot air like a curse. They drove past small villages and roadside stalls selling roasted corn and yams. The sweet smell wafted in through the window, making Aisha's stomach tighten with hunger. But she didn't say anything. Hours passed before Tahir finally spoke again. "The man we're looking for, the driver, his name is Musabala. He used to work for us for 15 years. My mother fired him suddenly last year. She said she caught him listening to her phone calls." Aisha frowned. "But she still trusts him enough to say he knows the truth." "That's what scares me," Tahir said. She never forgave betrayal easily. He pulled into a small roadside cafe at the edge of Abuja city. The place was quiet, with plastic chairs under a wide canopy. The smell of fried plantain and tea filled the air. They sat down near the back, trying not to draw attention. Tahir made a quick call, while Aisha stirred her tea slowly, watching him. He had a different look in Abuja, less like a billionaire, more like a man weighed down by secrets. He ended the call and leaned closer. "We're meeting someone who knows where Musa is. She'll be here soon." "Who be she?" "An old accountant for my company. She left after my mother's death." Aisha nodded, but her nerves refused to calm. She couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were on them. Every car that passed, every man who stared too long made her heart skip. 10 minutes later, a woman in her 50s entered the cafe, wearing a brown hijab and glasses. She looked simple but moved with quiet confidence. She spotted Tahir immediately. "Ah, Al-Haji Tahir," she said in a hushed tone, shaking his hand. "You look tired." "Fatima," Tahir said, relief in his voice. "Thank you for coming." She sat down quickly. "I know get plenty time. That man Musa you day find. He day Kefi." Tahir leaned forward. "Kefi, yes, but making it careful. The people way kill your mama, still day watch him. You know fit go anywhere. I hear say dem use him hold some documents." "What kind documents?" Tahir asked. She shook her head. "Only him fit tell you. But if you go find him, go quietly. No trust anybody. Even your company driver fit be their eye." Before they could ask more, Fatima stood up abruptly, eyes darting toward the road. "I no suppose they here too long. God protect Una." She left quickly, disappearing into the busy street. Tahir sighed. "Kefi it is." But Aisha's eyes were fixed on a silver Toyota parked across the road. A man in dark sunglasses sat inside, pretending to read a newspaper. She had seen that same car when they left Kaduna. "Tahir," she whispered. "We day followed." He turned sharply. His jaw tightened. "Get in the car." They ran out of the cafe, jumped into the SUV, and sped off. The silver Toyota started immediately and followed. The chase tore through the outskirts of Abuja, horns blaring, dust clouds rising. Tahir swerved through traffic, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Hold tight," he shouted. Aisha gripped the dashboard as the car bounced over potholes. Behind them, the silver Toyota refused to slow down. "Who dem be?" she cried. "I told you," he said through clenched teeth. "The people who wanted my mother dead." Bullets suddenly cracked through the air, shattering the side mirror. Aisha screamed. Tahir accelerated, veering into a narrow dirt road that led toward a cluster of trees. The sound of gunfire faded as the SUV disappeared into the thick bush. He stopped deep inside and killed the engine. Both of them sat still, breathing hard. Aisha's hand shook. "Sir, this thing dawned past me, yo. I be ordinary person. I no get strength for this kind, walla." He turned to her, his expression softening. "I'm sorry, Aisha, but you're part of this now, and I need you." She looked at him, confused. "Me? Why me?" He hesitated. Because before she died, my mother kept saying her name. Aisha blinked. My name. He nodded slowly. She said, tell Aisha the truth before they do. The forest fell silent around them. Only the distant hum of the highway remained. Aisha's throat went dry. But sir, what truth? Tahir didn't answer immediately. He stared through the windshield, lost in thought. I think you're connected to my mother in ways we don't understand yet. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. A text message appeared on the screen. You can't run forever. She knows who you are. Tahir's face drained of color. Sir, who sent him? Aisha whispered. He swallowed hard. No name. They sat in silence for a long moment, fear pressing down on them like heavy air. Then Aisha whispered, Sir, you think your mama know me before? Tahir looked at her, his voice barely above a whisper. Aisha, I think she knew you before you were even born. The evening sun dipped low as they finally reached Kefi, a quiet town surrounded by hills. They found a small lodge off the main road, dusty but safe enough for the night. Aisha sat by the window, watching goats cross the road, trying to calm her pounding heart. Tahir sat opposite her, scrolling through his mother's old emails on his tablet. Suddenly, he frowned. What is it? Aisha asked. He turned the screen toward her. My mother transferred money to someone named Rahila Musa every month for 20 years. Aisha froze. Rahila Musa? Then not my mama name. He stared at her, stunned. Your mother? She nodded slowly. Yes, but she died 10 years ago. Why she day collect money from your mama? The silence between them grew heavy, too heavy. Tahir whispered, Aisha, I think our mothers shared more than just kindness. I think they shared a secret. Aisha's eyes glistened with confusion and fear. What secret? He leaned back, his voice trembling. That's what Musa Bala must tell us. Aisha looked out the window again. The silver Toyota was parked across the road, waiting, its headlights off, engine purring softly. The same man with sunglasses stepped out, pulling a phone to his ear. Tahir stood up immediately. They found us again, and as the streetlights flickered to life, Aisha realized that every road she took from this point on would either lead her to the truth or to her death. Viewers, what would you have done if you were in Aisha's shoes? Would you keep running with a billionaire you barely know, or go back and face whatever's chasing you? Comment below where you're watching from, Kaduna, Abuja, Accra, or Atlanta, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next part of this gripping story. The town of Kefi woke slowly under the hazy northern sun. Roosters crowed from dusty compounds, and the smell of fried akara floated through the air. But inside the small lodge where Aisha and Tahir hid, the morning brought no peace, only dread. Tahir stood by the window, watching the road. His crisp white caftan from the day before was now wrinkled, and dark circles had formed under his eyes. Aisha sat on the edge of the bed, twisting her scarf nervously. Neither of them had slept much. The memory of the man in the silver Toyota still haunted them. You sure say damn, no go trace us reach here? Aisha asked quietly. Tahir shook his head. Not for now, but we can't stay long. Fatima said Musa Bala lives somewhere near a place called Anguwan Lambu. We'll go there once the sun rises. Aisha nodded weakly. Her stomach rumbled. She hadn't eaten since the day before. I go find small food for us, she said. Be careful, Tahir replied. Don't talk to anyone about who you are. She nodded and slipped outside into the morning bustle. The red earth was damp, and the streets buzzed with the sounds of early trade. Hawkers shouting, motorcycles zipping past, children running barefoot. At a small roadside stall, she bought bread and tea. The woman selling looked her up and down curiously. You know be from here, the woman said. Aisha forced a smile. Just visiting. The woman said, pouring tea into a plastic cup. This town day, full of eyes, way, no sleep. Make you mind how you walka. Aisha's heart skipped a beat. What you mean? The woman only smiled, handing her the bread. People way day find truth, for Kefi no day last long. Back at the lodge, Tahir was already pacing when Aisha returned. I made a call, he said. Someone confirmed Musa Bala works as a gatekeeper at an old villa on the edge of town. Gatekeeper? Aisha blinked. You mean your mama driver day, do my goddy now? He nodded grimly. That's where we're going. They set out in the SUV, following the narrow dirt roads past farms and old colonial buildings. The air smelled of rain and burning firewood. Eventually, they reached a tall, rusted gate surrounded by mango trees. A small sign on the wall read, LH, Dunladi's estate, no trespassing. Tahir parked and stepped out, adjusting his sunglasses. Stay in the car, he told Aisha. Let me talk to him first. But Aisha shook her head. No, sir. If Nami your mama mention, then maybe he go trust me more. Tahir hesitated, then nodded. Fine, but stay behind me. They walked up to the gate and knocked. After a moment, it creaked open, revealing an elderly man in a faded brown kaftan. His hair was gray, his eyes sharp despite the wrinkles on his face. Musa Bala, Tahir said quietly. The old man froze. His hand trembled slightly. Who be you? You used to drive for my mother, Mama Zara Soman, Tahir replied. The man's eyes darted around nervously. Go away. I know no wedding you day talk. But Aisha stepped forward. Sir, I beg, she write your name before she die. She say you know the truth. The man's eyes widened. He looked at Aisha carefully, then at Tahir, then back at her again. Ew, you be Rahila daughter? Aisha's heart skipped. You know my mama? He exhaled heavily. Not only me fit talk this matter, but not here. He opened the gate wider. Come inside before people see Una. They stepped in quickly. The compound was quiet, overgrown with weeds. A small house stood in the corner, its paint peeling. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old wood. Musa locked the door and turned to face them. If Una really want hear truth, no go cry when he pain Una. Tahir nodded. We're ready. The old man sank onto a wooden chair and rubbed his temples. Your mama, Madame Zara, was a strong woman, but she carried a secret heavy past gold. He looked at Aisha. And that secret start with your mama, Rahila. Aisha swallowed. My mama? But she no even get money. She days so cloth till she die. Musa smiled sadly. Yes, but once upon a time, she no be ordinary tailor. She was Madame Zara's closest friend and her sister. Aisha gasped. Her sister? Tahir blinked. That's impossible. Musa shook his head. Not truth. Dem be half-sisters. Same papa, different mama. But family no gree except Rahila, because she be product of second wife. So your mama grow up poor, while Zara marry rich. He paused, looking at Aisha. When Madame Zara's husband die, she day lonely. She find her sister again and bring her to Kaduna to live with her. But people around no like him, especially one man, her business partner, Chief Alaid. He say your mama fit spoil her image. Aisha's hands trembled. So wedding happened. Musa sighed. One night, Chief Alaid come with money and promised to invest in Madame Zara's charity. But he get evil plan. He try force himself on Rahila. She fight Am, and in the struggle, he die. Madame Zara help hide the body. Since that day, she no ever get peace. Tahir stepped back, stunned. You're saying my mother helped cover a murder? Musa nodded. Yes, and the man's family find out. They start blackmail her. That's why she starts sending money to Rahila every month, to protect her and the baby she born after that night. Aisha frowned. Which baby? Musa's eyes softened. You. The room fell silent. Even the sound of distant birds stopped. Aisha shook her head slowly. No, you day lie. Musa looked straight at her. I know day lie. That man way die. Chief Alaid, he be your real papa. Aisha staggered backward, her voice cracking. No, my mama tell me my papa die before I born. She protect you, Musa said softly. She no one make anybody connect you to the man Madame Zara hide. But your blood tie the two families together forever. Tahir sat down heavily, shock written all over his face. So, Aisha is my cousin. Yes, Musa said, and that's why your mother trusts her. She believes say the only person fit carry her secret is her sister Pekin. Aisha's hands covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. All this time, I no even know say I get family way rich like this. Musa nodded. Rich but cursed. The people way day chase Una. Not the same family of Chief Alaid. Dem won revenge, and the diary way Madame Zara right before she died. Tahir leaned forward. The diary they stole from her house? Musa nodded. Yes. It get names of all the people involved in the cover-up. Politicians, businessmen, even pastors. If he leak, he goes scatter plenty lives. Aisha whispered. So that's why dem day kill anybody way fit talk. Exactly, Musa said. Including me. Before Tahir could respond, the sound of engines roared outside. Musa's eyes widened in fear. Dem don find me. Tahir sprang to his feet. Aisha, get down. Bullets shattered the windows. Aisha screamed and ducked behind the table as Musa fell to the floor, clutching his chest. Musa, Tahir shouted, crawling toward him. Stay with me. With trembling hands, the old man pointed toward a metal box under the bed. Take the box, he gasped. Everything you need day inside. His hand dropped. His eyes went still. Aisha sobbed, her hands shaking as she reached for him, but Tahir grabbed her arm. We have to go now. They kicked the back door open and ran through the bush behind the house, the sound of gunfire echoing behind them. As they reached the dirt road, Tahir opened the box with shaking hands. Inside was a small black flash drive, a folded letter, and an old photograph of two women, Zara and Rahila, holding a baby. The baby was Aisha. She stared at it, tears streaming down her face. She hid everything to protect me. Tahir nodded, his voice heavy. And now you're the only one who can finish what she started. From behind them, the silver Toyota screeched to a stop at the edge of the road. Men stepped out, guns in hand. Tahir grabbed Aisha's wrist. Run! And they ran into the wilderness as bullets split the air, carrying with them the one truth powerful enough to destroy an empire. The forest air was thick and humid, and every sound seemed too loud. The buzz of insects, the crunch of dry leaves beneath their feet, and the distant hum of engines fading behind them. Tahir and Aisha ran until their lungs burned. When they finally stopped, the morning sun had climbed high over the hills. Both of them crouched behind a fallen tree, gasping for breath. Aisha's scarf was torn, her slippers gone. Her palms were scratched, and her heart pounded so hard she could barely speak. Tahir, she whispered between breaths, that man, Musa, he died because of us. Tahir's face was tight with pain. He died because of them, and we can't let his death be for nothing. He opened the small metal box again and took out the black flash drive. It glinted faintly in the sunlight. Whatever truth Mama Zara was hiding, it's in here. Aisha stared at it. But how we go see wedding day inside? You get laptop? He nodded. There's a contact in Abuja I trust, a tech analyst who handles my company's security systems. His name is Bode. He can open it safely. Aisha frowned. You sure say we fit trust him? Tahir looked at her, his jaw set. At this point, we don't have much choice. By evening, they reached the outskirts of Abuja again, exhausted and coated in red dust. Tahir had managed to borrow a phone from a fuel station attendant and sent Bode a coded message. They met in an unfinished building at Gwarimpa. The place smelled of cement and rusted iron rods. Bode was already waiting, a tall man in his 30s, with a goatee and intelligent eyes hidden behind glasses. Tahir, he said, clasping his shoulder. You look like you've been running from ghosts. Tahir gave a humorless laugh. Something like that. Bode noticed Aisha and smiled kindly. You must be the woman from the news. The one who found Madame Zara before she passed. Aisha nodded, still uneasy. Yes, sir. Don't call me sir, Bode said with a grin. I'm just here to help. He set up a small laptop on a table, connected a power bank, and inserted the flash drive. The screen flickered to life. At first, nothing happened. Then a password prompt appeared. Bode raised an eyebrow. You have the code? Tahir frowned. No, but maybe the hint is in the letter. He pulled out the folded paper from the metal box and opened it. Inside, in Mama Zara's familiar handwriting, was a single phrase. What we hide, heaven sees. Bode typed the phrase slowly. The system beeped and unlocked. The three of them leaned forward as hundreds of documents appeared on the screen. Financial statements, hidden contracts, scanned letters. Aisha's eyes widened. All this, now your mama company's secret? Bode clicked on one folder labeled Confidential, Suleiman Foundation. Inside were transaction logs linking large sums of money to anonymous accounts. Tahir's face hardened. These are bribes. Donations from politicians, laundered through the foundation. Aisha shook her head in disbelief. You mean say your mama a charity? Nah, cover up? He exhaled slowly. I think she discovered it after my father's death. Maybe she wanted to expose them, but someone silenced her before she could. Bode clicked another folder titled Allayed Case. Inside were old scanned letters between Mama Zara and Chief Alayed's widow. The messages were full of threats. If you don't pay, I'll tell everyone what you and your sister did. Aisha felt her chest tighten. That woman, she no forgive them. Bode looked at Tahir. This is evidence enough to bring half the people in Abuja to court. But it also means they'll do anything to stop you from leaking it. Before Tahir could respond, his phone buzzed. He looked down and froze. A message. No number. No name. You shouldn't have opened it. The lights flickered. Bode looked up. Generator still day on now. Then they heard it. Footsteps outside. Tahir grabbed the laptop. We need to go. Now. Bode packed his cables quickly. Aisha's heart raced as the footsteps grew louder. Suddenly, the door burst open. Men in black masks stormed in with guns. Down! Tahir shouted. Bode flipped the table, diving behind it. Bullets tore through the concrete walls. Sparks flew. The air filled with smoke and chaos. Tahir fired back with a small pistol he pulled from his jacket. Aisha, go. She hesitated. No, I can't leave you. Go. He barked, his voice sharp with desperation. She crawled toward the back exit as bullets whizzed past. One grazed her arm, making her cry out. Bode helped her through a narrow back door leading to the bush behind the site. Tahir followed seconds later, clutching a laptop. They ran through the field, ducking under old scaffolds until they reached the road. Bode flagged down a passing truck. A beg. Carry us enter town. The driver hesitated, then nodded when he saw the fear in their eyes. As they climbed into the back of the truck, Tahir looked back and saw smoke rising from the building. They burned it, he muttered. They're erasing everything. Aisha clutched her bleeding arm. So what we go do now? Tahir's voice was calm but firm. We'll make copies. Then we'll expose them. Bode nodded. I can upload everything to a secure server tonight. But as the truck bumped along the dusty road, Aisha noticed something strange. Another car followed them, a black SUV with tinted windows. She tapped Tahir's arm. Day followed again. He turned. His expression darkened. They never stop. The driver looked back nervously. Oga, make I turn into Village Road? Tahir nodded. Do it. The truck swerved sharply into a narrow dirt path lined with tall grass. The SUV followed, gaining speed. Bode shouted, they won't stop. We need to lose them. Aisha clung to the side of the truck, praying silently. Then suddenly, there was a loud bang. The truck's back tire exploded. The vehicle spun out of control and crashed into a ditch. Everything went black. When Aisha opened her eyes, the world was blurry. She could hear faint voices and smell smoke. Tahir, she coughed. Bode. Bode was slumped beside the wreck, groaning. Tahir wasn't there. Her heart raced. She crawled out of the truck, calling his name. Then she saw him, being dragged toward the SUV by two masked men. He was fighting, shouting her name. Tahir. One of the men hit him with the butt of a gun. Another pointed a weapon at her. Stay back, he shouted. Aisha froze. The flash drive was still in Tahir's hand. Before they pushed him into the car, Tahir locked eyes with her and mouthed two words. The church. Then the SUV sped off, leaving a trail of dust behind. Aisha fell to her knees, sobbing. God, not him too. Bode crawled over, clutching his ribs. We can't stay here. They'll come back. She wiped her tears, her voice trembling. He say the church. Which church? Bode thought for a moment. Maybe St. Matthew's, his mother's old church in Garki. That's where her foundation started. Aisha looked toward the fading road. Her body ached, her arm bled, but her resolve hardened. We go find him, she said quietly. Dead or alive, we go bring out the truth. The wind howled through the trees. The setting sun painted the sky red, like a warning. And as Aisha limped toward the road with Bode's help, she didn't know that by following Tahir's last clue, She was walking straight into the trap his enemies had set. The night sky over Abuja was dark and moody, clouds moving slowly across the faint moon. The air smelled of dust and petrol. From afar, you could hear faint sirens and the occasional bark of a street dog. Aisha walked beside Bode along a quiet street in Garki, her body sore from the crash, her arm bandaged with a torn piece of cloth. Each step sent pain shooting through her leg, but her mind burned with one thing: Tahir's last words. The church. They reached St. Matthew's Anglican Church around midnight. The building stood tall, its white walls illuminated by dim security lights. The compound was silent except for the rustle of trees. Aisha hesitated at the gate. "You sure say this not the right place?" Bo nodded. "Yes. This is where Madame Zara used to hold her charity events before she built the foundation. Maybe she kept something here." They slipped through the gate quietly. The night guard, an old man half asleep on a stool, didn't even notice them. Inside, the church smelled of wax and old wood. Aisha's eyes roamed the pews, the altar, the flickering candles. Everything looked peaceful, too peaceful for the storm inside her heart. Bode whispered, "We should check the back office. That's where records and donations used to be kept." They walked quietly down the aisle. Their footsteps echoed faintly. When they reached the small office at the back, Bode pushed the door open slowly. Dust floated through the air like ghosts. Inside were old shelves filled with files, photographs, and broken boxes. Aisha picked up a framed picture of Mama Zara, surrounded by smiling orphans. Her throat tightened. "She looks so happy here," she said softly. Bode nodded, scanning through the dusty folders. Sometimes people hide their pain behind kindness. As he flipped through a stack of documents, something caught his attention. An envelope marked confidential, to be opened only in case of my death. He froze. "Aisha, come see this." Her hands trembled as she took the envelope. It had Mama Zara's handwriting. She opened it carefully, and inside was a small key and a note. "If I don't live to tell the truth, it will live here. The foundation's soul is in the hands of the one I trusted most. But if she turns against me, let justice find her." Aisha frowned. Who be the one she trusts most? Before Bode could reply, a shadow moved outside the window. He turned sharply. "Down!" The window shattered as a bullet flew through, hitting the wall. They ducked behind the desk. More shots followed. Aisha's heart pounded. "They find us again." Bode crawled to the other side and peeked through the broken window. 3 men, armed. "We go die here if we no move," Aisha whispered, her voice shaking. He nodded. "When I say run, follow me." A second later, he threw a chair through the other window, setting off a loud crash. They sprinted toward the altar and ducked through the side door leading to the courtyard. Gunshots echoed behind them as they ran toward the parish hall. They stumbled behind a wall, both panting. Aisha clutched the note tightly. "Sir, who dem be? Why dem still dey chase us?" Bode looked grim. "Because that letter proves there's a traitor. And whoever she meant by the one she trusted most, that person wants to bury this truth forever." Aisha frowned. "She say she. So now a woman." Bode nodded. "Which woman had access to her?" "Someone close. Someone who knew everything about the foundation." Then Aisha's eyes widened. "Madame Rita." Bode froze. "The executive director?" "Yes. The same woman way Kamal find me that day. She be the one way first carry me go meet Tahir. She know all his movement. Even the day we travel come Kefi. She call him ask where we day go." Bode's face darkened. "If that's true, she's been watching both of you since day one." Suddenly, a car screeched to a stop outside the church gate. Flashlights swept across the walls. Voices shouted in Hausa and English. "They're here!" Aisha cried. Bode grabbed her hand. This way, they ran behind the church toward the old cemetery. The moonlight shone faintly on cracked gravestones and overgrown weeds. Aisha stumbled, her foot catching a stone. Bode helped her up. "Keep going." But then a female voice shouted behind them. "Stop! Both of you!" They turned. Madame Rita stood near the church fence, holding a gun. Her face was calm, her expensive dress spotless even in the chaos. "So it's true," she said coldly. The poor maid and the fool tech man think they can expose me. Aisha's voice trembled. You? You kill Madame Zara? Rita smiled faintly. Kill? No, dear. I just didn't save her. There's a difference. Tahir's mother's last words flashed in Aisha's mind. You've saved more than you know. Rita walked closer. Do you think I let her ruin everything we built? That woman was ready to confess to the police. She wanted to tell the world how our foundation took dirty money to look clean. I made sure she wouldn't. Bode clenched his fists. You poisoned her? Rita's eyes gleamed in the moonlight. A small pill in her tea. She trusted me completely. Poor woman didn't even know her kindness killed her. Aisha's whole body trembled with fury. You evil. She call you friend. Rita laughed softly. Friendship doesn't pay bills. Power does. She raised the gun. Now give me that key and letter. Bode stepped in front of Aisha. You'll have to kill both of us first. Rita's smile widened. That can be arranged. Before she could fire, a gunshot echoed from the gate, different direction. Rita's hand jerked as the bullet grazed her arm. She screamed, dropping the gun. Aisha turned toward the sound. And there he was. Tahir. Dirty, bruised, but alive. He limped through the cemetery, holding a gun with both hands. Rita, he said coldly, drop it before I forget you used to work for my mother. Rita stared, stunned. You, how did you escape? You took another step forward. You trained my security team yourself. Did you really think they'd shoot me when they learned who paid them? Her expression twisted with rage. You have no idea what you're up against. You think this ends with me? Tahir's eyes narrowed. No, but it starts with you. Before she could reach for the fallen gun, he fired again, this time hitting her shoulder. She screamed and fell backward, blood soaking her sleeve. Bode ran and kicked the gun away. Tahir rushed to Aisha, pulling her into a tight embrace. Are you okay? She nodded weakly. I think so. He looked at the key in her hand. You found it. Yes, she whispered. And the letter. She confessed everything. Tahir took a deep breath. Then this ends tonight. He turned to Bode. Upload everything. Every document, every proof. Make it public. Bode nodded, pulling out his laptop. Already done. Once I hit enter, every news outlet in the country will have it. Rita, lying on the ground, began to laugh through her pain. You think this will destroy me? You don't know how deep this goes. I'm just a messenger. Tahir's voice was cold. Then tell your masters, truth doesn't die quietly. Bode pressed enter. The screen blinked. Files uploaded. The truth was unleashed. Within minutes, alerts and notifications began buzzing across social media platforms. Names, accounts, and evidence of corruption spread like wildfire. The sound of sirens grew louder in the distance. Police trucks arrived, lights flashing. Tahir looked at Aisha. It's over. But Aisha shook her head slowly, her eyes fixed on Rita, who was still smiling faintly despite her wound. No, sir. She talk say, she just messenger. That means somebody else still day. Tahir turned to her, his voice quiet. Then we find them. The sirens echoed through the night. Rain began to fall, washing the blood and dust into the earth. But in that storm, a new chapter of truth was being born, and neither of them could see how dangerous the next dawn would be. The next morning broke with a restless sky over Abuja. The storm that washed the night away had left behind puddles that mirrored the gray clouds above. Birds chirped cautiously, as if they too sensed the city's tension. Aisha sat on the concrete steps outside St. Matthew's Church, her face pale and eyes swollen from tears. The police had taken Rita away in an ambulance hours earlier, and the once quiet church compound now buzzed with reporters and flashing cameras. Across the yard, Tahir stood near a police truck, talking to an officer. His white caftan was stained with mud and dry blood, his left arm bandaged. But his expression, hard, unreadable, was what frightened Aisha the most. When he finally walked back toward her, she stood up slowly. You think she talked true? Aisha asked quietly. You think she really killed your mama for power? Tahir nodded slightly. Yes, but she wasn't working alone. Who again? He exhaled. That's what we need to find out. Bode joined the moments later, his laptop bag slung across his shoulder. The files are already viral. Every news station is airing the corruption list. The Suleiman Foundation accounts are frozen. Government people don day panic. Tahir gave a short nod. Good. Let them choke on the truth. But even as he said it, his eyes drifted toward the black car parked across the street. Two men in plain clothes sat inside, watching. Police. Aisha whispered. He shook his head. No, the people Rita worked for. By afternoon, they relocated to a safe house in Jabi, a small bungalow owned by one of Tahir's loyal staff. Inside, Aisha finally cleaned her wound properly while Bode tried tracing the flash drive's digital path. This flash drive wasn't just a storage, Bode said, typing quickly. It was connected to an encrypted cloud server. Whoever created it wanted the files to auto-upload once it's opened. And look, someone else has accessed it before. Tahir frowned. Ooh, the system shows a login from an IP address tied to the Ministry of Commerce. That's not random. Aisha frowned. So, the government involved? Bode nodded. Looks like it. But this particular account belongs to someone high up. Wait, he zoomed in on the data. Here, Deputy Minister Ahmed Bello. Tahir's expression darkened. He was one of my father's oldest business partners. The same man who pushed for our foundation's foreign contracts. Bode looked up. He's the mastermind. Aisha's eyes widened. Then Rita just be pawn. Exactly, Tahir said. Bello used her to keep the money flowing through fake charity deals. When my mother wanted to expose him, they poisoned her. Now that Rita's caught, he'll want to erase every loose end, including us. Aisha shivered. So what do we go do now? Tahir's voice hardened. We confront him. Tonight. Bode stared at him. That's suicide, Tahir. The man controls security, money, and media. Tahir met his gaze. So we did my father once. It didn't stop him from dying a coward. Aisha touched his arm gently. Go fight him alone. I day with you. He looked at her, and for a brief moment, the tension broke, two souls connected by grief and fire. Night fell fast. Abuja's skyline glittered like 1,000 secrets. At exactly 8:30 p.m., a convoy of black SUVs pulled up to a private estate in Maitama. The house belonged to Deputy Minister Bello. Grand gates, marble fountains, and guards everywhere. Aisha sat nervously in the back seat while Tahir and Bode finalized their plan. Bode would jam the estate's CCTV feed while Tahir confronted Bello face to face. This no be movie, Aisha whispered. You sure say go work? Tahir gave her a small smile. If it doesn't, at least we'll go down fighting for truth. They parked a short distance away. Bode handed Tahir a small recorder and nodded. Whatever he says, it'll be proof. Tahir took a deep breath. Stay here. If I don't come out in 10 minutes, leave. Aisha grabbed his wrist. I no day go anywhere without you. He hesitated, then nodded once before walking toward the gate. The guards recognized him immediately and let him in after a quick call. He stepped into a massive living room lined with gold decor. Ahmed Bello sat on a leather couch, sipping red wine, his agbada gleaming under chandelier light. Tahir Suleiman, he said calmly. I was expecting you. Tahir's jaw clenched. You know why I'm here. Bello chuckled. Of course. To play hero, like your mother. You have her stubbornness. She died because of you, Tahir said coldly. Bello set his glass down. She died because she forgot how the world works. You can't expose power and expect it to clap for you. Tahir took a step closer. You poisoned her. Bello smiled faintly. I didn't have to. I just gave the order. Tahir's pulse raced. And Rita carried out. Rita was loyal until she wasn't. But don't worry, she'll stay quiet now, one way or another. Tahir's hand tightened on the recorder in his pocket. You'll pay for what you did. Bello laughed softly. Pay? My boy, I own the courts. I fund the police. Even the media you think is exposing me. I pay their salaries. He leaned back, eyes glinting. But I can make you disappear quietly, like your mother. Tahir's voice dropped low. Try me. The door behind him creaked. Two bodyguards entered, guns visible. Outside, in the SUV, Aisha saw movement through the window. Her heart jumped. Them surround him. Bode swore under his breath. We have to go in now. He pulled out his small pistol. Stay down, Aisha. No, she said, gripping the door handle. He go die if we no help. Before he could stop her, she ran toward the gate, wrapping her scarf tight. Inside, Bello stood, smiling coldly. Any last words, Tahir? Tahir raised his chin. Just one. He clicked the small button on the recorder in his pocket. From outside, Bode's device pinged. Recording signal active, he muttered. Bello didn't notice Aisha slip through the open gate, crouching near the window. She shouted suddenly, Tahir, down. Bello spun around, just as Bode fired a warning shot through the glass. Chaos erupted. Tahir dove behind the couch. Bello's guards fired back. Glass shattered, bullets ricocheted. In the confusion, Aisha crawled toward Tahir and grabbed his arm. We get to run now. He nodded, grabbing the fallen recorder. Let's go. They sprinted out the back door into the garden. Bello's furious voice echoed behind them. You think this ends tonight? I'll bury you both. Tahir shouted back, then dig 2 graves because we're not running anymore. They leapt into the SUV where Bode waited, and the car sped off through the gates, bullets shattering the rear window. As they disappeared into the night, Bode clutched the recorder. Everything he said is on tape. This is enough to burn his entire empire. Aisha turned to Tahir. So what now? Tahir stared out the window, his face hard but calm. Now we give this to the one person Bello can't buy, public truth. He pulled out his phone and dialed a journalist from the Daily Truth, one of the few independent stations left. Meet me at dawn, he said. I have the story of a lifetime. At 6 a.m., the story broke nationwide. Audio leaks exposed Deputy Minister Ahmed Bello in murder and corruption scandal. Exclusive, Suleiman Foundation tied to cover UPS and high-level crimes. Social media exploded. Protesters filled the streets. By noon, police raided Bello's mansion. The same man who had once smiled over a glass of wine was led out in handcuffs. Aisha watched it unfold on a small TV in the safe house, tears streaming down her face. God really dey fight for truth, she whispered. Tahir turned to her, a faint smile on his lips. You made it happen. My mother was right. You were sent for a reason. She looked at him, her voice soft. Show me once. Maybe now I repay him. Outside, the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. It felt like the whole city was finally breathing again. But deep down, Aisha knew something else. The truth had a cost, and they hadn't paid all of it yet. Because somewhere behind another desk, a man was watching the news with a cold smile, whispering, Phase 1 failed. Begin Phase 2. Viewers, if you were Aisha, would you keep fighting now that the truth is out, or would you disappear and start a new life? Comment below where you're watching from, Kaduna, Abuja, Accra, Kingston, or Atlanta, and tell us what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss Chapter 9, where the story takes a shocking new turn. For the first time in weeks, Abuja felt quiet. The air was crisp, the sun bright, and the streets, though buzzing with gossip, moved with the usual rhythm of city life. But inside the small safe house in Jabi, tension still lingered like smoke after a fire. Aisha stood by the window, her scarf loose, staring at the newspaper headline on Bode's laptop. Ahmed Bello arrested. Audio evidence confirms involvement in Suleiman Foundation scandal. People in the streets were celebrating. Commentators on radio hailed Tahir Suleiman's courage. But Aisha felt no joy. Her stomach twisted with unease. Tahir, she said quietly, this thing's still no feel over. He looked up from the table where he was writing notes. His bandaged arm rested on the papers. I know, he said simply. People like Bello don't fall alone. When one tree collapses, Ide pull others with them. Bode, seated across from him, nodded grimly. He's right. I've been checking online chatter. There's too much noise about missing files. Someone's still cleaning things behind the scenes. Aisha frowned. You mean somebody delete evidence? Yes, Bode replied. And it's not random. Whoever's doing it has access to government servers. Tahir leaned back, his face darkening. Then it's someone higher than Bello. The room fell silent. Outside, a car horn blared faintly. Then Aisha asked, Who higher past Bello? Tahir stared at her, then slowly said, "The man Bello used to always mention in private meetings. Minister Ibrahim Danjuma. The same man my father called the Quiet Hand." Bode's fingers froze on the keyboard. "You think he's the real mastermind?" Tahir nodded. "He funded the foundation's expansion abroad. And when my mother started questioning the donations, he suddenly distanced himself. I think he ordered Bello to silence her." Aisha shuddered. "So that mean everything way happened from beginning? Nah, plan?" "Yes," Tahir said, "and it's not over yet." That evening, as dusk painted the city in amber light, Aisha stepped outside to get air. The compound was quiet, only the hum of insects and the faint sound of distant traffic. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her breath caught. "Who be this?" she whispered, answering. A deep male voice replied, calm and chilling. "You've made powerful enemies, Aisha Musa." She froze. "Who you be?" "Someone who wants to make you an offer," the voice said. "You've done well exposing Bello, but you're standing in front of something much bigger than you can handle. Walk away now, and we'll forget you ever existed." Aisha's heart pounded. "And if I know walk away?" The voice chuckled softly. "Then you won't live to regret it." The call ended. Her hands trembled as she rushed back inside. "Tahir, Bode, somebody just call me." Bode quickly began tracing the number, typing fast. Tahir came closer. "What did he say?" "He say make I walk away. Say this thing bigger than us." Bode frowned. "The number's encrypted. Whoever this is, they know what they're doing." Tahir clenched his fists. "Then it's him, Minister Danjuma." He picked up his phone. "I'll call a journalist I trust, Ngozi Onwu. She's fearless." But before he could dial, Bode's laptop pinged, a notification flashing across the screen. "Breaking news. Ahmed Bello found dead in cell." The room froze. Aisha whispered, "Dead? But police just arrested him yesterday." Tahir's face hardened. "They silenced him." Bode muttered, "Suicide, my foot. They killed him to bury the trail." Tahir slammed his fist on the table. "We move tonight. If they think fear go stop us, dem never see madness." They drove toward the Ministry of Commerce headquarters just past midnight. The streets were empty, the city asleep. Aisha sat between Tahir and Bode, clutching a small camera in her lap. "Tahir," she said softly, "this thing no safe. If dem kill Bello inside government custody, what of us?" He glanced at her, eyes fierce. "My mother used to say, when evil men sit at the table of comfort, truth must drag a chair too. We can't stop now." They parked near the back of the ministry, where security was light. Using an old ID card from his company, Tahir accessed the basement entry. The hallways smelled of dust and power. Bode carried his laptop, searching for the main server room. "Once we get inside, I'll download everything. Emails, financial records, everything tying Danjuma to the foundation." Aisha whispered, "Quick, before dem catch us." As they turned the corner, voices echoed down the hall. Two guards chatting lazily near the elevator. Tahir motioned for silence. They slipped into a storage room nearby, holding their breath until the voices faded. Then, footsteps behind them. Aisha turned slowly, heart racing. Rita, her left arm was in a sling, her face pale but alive. "You think I'd stay in a hospital?" she said coldly. "Danjuma helped me escape. He knew you'd come here." Aisha's blood ran cold. "So he used you again?" Rita smirked. "He saved me. You're the ones ruining everything." Tahir stepped forward. "You don't even know what he's done to you. He killed Bello to tie loose ends, and you're next on his list." For the first time, Rita's expression faltered. "He wouldn't." Bode quickly pulled up something on his laptop. "Actually, he would. Look." He turned the screen toward her. A video feed of Minister Danjuma speaking on a call, recorded through a leaked server. His voice was calm. "Rita, serve her purpose. When it's done, remove her too." Rita's face crumpled. "No." Aisha stepped closer. "You fit still make peace. Help us expose him." Rita's breathing quickened. For a moment, she looked between them, then nodded faintly. "The evidence is in his private vault. 4th floor. Code 2756. Tahir's eyes narrowed. "Thank you." But before they could move, gunfire exploded from the hallway. Glass shattered. The lights flickered out. "Dem Don find us," Bode shouted. Rita ducked as bullets tore through the door. Aisha screamed. Tahir grabbed her hand and pulled her behind a file cabinet. "Back exit," he shouted. They crawled toward the other side of the room, but a bullet hit Rita. She gasped, falling to the floor. "Go," she whispered weakly. "Tell the world, tell them." Her voice faded. Aisha's tears fell as Tahir dragged her toward the exit. "We can't stop." They burst out of the back stairwell, racing up toward the fourth floor. The building alarm blared. When they reached the vault, Tahir entered the code, 2756. The door clicked open. Inside were stacks of files, hard drives, and one open laptop. On the screen was a live video call. Minister Danjuma himself, calm and smiling. "Welcome, Tahir," he said smoothly. "You're as persistent as your mother." Tahir clenched his fists. "You killed her. You destroyed everything she stood for." Danjuma's smile widened. "No, son. I built what she couldn't. Power. Legacy. You should be thanking me." Aisha stepped forward. "You call murder legacy?" He ignored her. "Give me the flash drive, and I'll let you live." Tahir stared at him. "You're bluffing. You already sent killers after us." "True," Danjuma said, leaning closer to the camera. "But this time, I'm sending the army." He pressed a button on his desk. Alarms blared through the ministry. "Go," Tahir shouted. "Bode, grab everything." They ran, carrying as many files as they could. As they reached the stairwell, soldiers flooded the corridors. Aisha looked back one last time at the vault. The laptop screen showed Danjuma still smiling. "Run, little mouse," he said. "But you can't hide forever." Tahir pulled her down the stairs, heart hammering. They crashed through a side exit and escaped into the dark, rainy night. Outside, the sound of helicopters echoed above. Bode shouted, "We can't outrun them like this." Tahir stopped, breathing hard. "Then we don't run." He looked at Aisha, eyes blazing. "We end it." The rain poured harder, drenching them completely. Aisha nodded. "Then make we end them together." And as lightning lit the Abuja skyline, they disappeared into the shadows. Three fugitives armed only with the truth and one promise to a dead woman. The world will remember. The storm over Abuja had not stopped for 3 days. It was as if the heavens themselves refused to rest until the truth was fully spoken. Thunder rumbled across the skyline, lightning flashing over the ministry buildings that once symbolized power, corruption, and silence. But in a small, dimly lit safe house at the edge of Nyanya, 3 people were preparing for the final reckoning. Aisha stood by the window, wrapped in a shawl, staring at the rainfall. Her eyes were swollen, but her spirit unbroken. Beside her, Bode worked feverishly on his laptop, copying files, encrypting folders, and sending data through a network of anonymous servers. Across the room, Tahir sat on the floor, loading bullets into a small revolver, the same one his father had once owned. The air was heavy with tension. "This no be fight we fit win with gun," Aisha said softly without turning around. Tahir's voice was calm but resolute. "We're not fighting for victory, Aisha. We're fighting for truth." Bode looked up. "I've got something." They gathered around his laptop. On the screen was a set of bank transfers. Hundreds of millions of naira moved from the Suleiman Foundation into fake accounts linked to offshore companies. All of them led to one name, Ibrahim Danjuma. "This is it," Bode whispered. "This proves everything: embezzlement, murder payments, bribes. If we can get this to the international press before he wipes the servers, he's finished." Aisha frowned. "How we go send him?" "Dem day monitor everything." Bode hesitated. "There's one station left that still broadcasts independent, Freedom TV. But their network's weak. Someone will have to go there physically." Tahir straightened up. "Then we go together." Bode shook his head. "No, I'll stay behind to delay their trackers. You two take the drive and run." Aisha grabbed his hand. "Bode, you know fit stay here alone." He smiled faintly. "Somebody must hold the door while others escape. Go." The rain fell harder as Aisha and Tahir climbed onto an old motorcycle parked behind the safe house. The sound of approaching sirens grew louder. They rode through the wet streets, past flickering streetlights and flooded junctions. Water splashed around them as the bike roared through the night. When they reached Freedom TV, the compound was dark except for a single light in the control room. The guard at the gate recognized Tahir immediately. Oga Tahir, we hear the news. Tahir handed him a soaked envelope. We need to go on air. Now. The man hesitated. Oga, you sure? Dem say government don't warn, make nobody broadcast your name. Aisha stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. If you no let us in, dem go kill us before morning. And if dem kill us, truth go die too. The guard stared at her for a long second, then opened the gate. Make Una enter. Inside the control room, the small team worked quickly. The producer, a middle-aged woman with a brave heart, set up the live feed. We have 5 minutes before they cut us off, she said. Tahir placed the flash drive on the table. Then we make it count. As the red light blinked on the camera, he stood in front of the lens. His clothes were drenched, his voice steady. My name is Tahir Suleiman, he began. For years, the Suleiman Foundation was used to wash dirty money. My mother, Mama Zara, discovered the truth and was killed for it. Tonight, I show you the proof. He lifted the drive. These files contain every transaction, every name, every lie. From late Chief Alaid to Deputy Minister Bello, to the man who gave the orders, Minister Ibrahim Danjuma. He paused, his jaw tightening. My mother used to say, truth may bend, but it never breaks. She was right. Today, I bend no more. He looked straight into the camera. To every Nigerian watching, do not be silent. Our silence built this corruption. Our courage can end it. He stepped back, letting Aisha take the mic. Her voice was shaky at first, but grew stronger with every word. I no be rich. I no be famous. I just be ordinary woman way help old woman for road. I no say, she go change my life. But what I learned be this. Kindness day carry power way money no fit by. If you see wrong, speak, even if your voice shake. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Mama Zara, this one now for you. The camera light flickered as Bode's transmission signal kicked in from the safe house, connecting Freedom TV's feed to hundreds of online platforms. Within minutes, the video spread across social media, radio, and TV networks. Nigeria erupted. Protests broke out in major cities. Students marched. Reporters shouted questions at the ministry gates. And inside his office, Minister Ibrahim Danjuma watched the broadcast in stunned silence. His glass of wine slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. Within hours, he was arrested at his home by the DSS, his convoy blocked by angry citizens chanting, "No more silence." 2 days later, the rain finally stopped. The sun rose over Abuja, clean and golden. In a quiet cemetery on the city's outskirts, a small gathering stood before a white marble grave. Mama Zareth Suleiman, beloved mother, voice of truth. Aisha placed fresh flowers on the tombstone, her hands trembling. You say heaven go remember me, she whispered. Now the whole world remember you. Tahir stood beside her, wearing a simple black kaftan. His eyes were softer now. She'd be proud, he said quietly. Aisha looked up at him, smiling faintly. She proud of you too. You know just be billionaire. You be man of truth. He gave a small laugh. And you, Aisha, you be heart of this story. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the wind brushing through the trees. Then Tahir reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. Before she died, my mother wrote something else. He handed it to Aisha. She opened it carefully. When light meets kindness, justice is born. She smiled through her tears. Not true. Tahir nodded. It ends here. But Aisha shook her head slowly. No, sir. It just begin. Because truth no day end. He only moved from one person to another. As they turned to leave, a camera drone buzzed quietly above the grave. A reporter capturing the moment live. The story of the poor woman and the billionaire's mother had become a symbol of hope across Africa. Children were naming streets after Mama Zara. Women were forming foundations in her name. And somewhere, in the quiet of heaven, a mother smiled, finally at peace. As the sun rose higher, Tahir and Aisha walked toward the road. Where you go now? She asked. He smiled faintly. Rebuild. The right way this time. She nodded. And me? I go continue sew clothes. Maybe start small fashion line. Call him Aisha's Grace. He chuckled softly. You still think small. She looked at him sideways. Rich man, I know fit think big like Una. He grinned. Then let's think big together. They both laughed, the first real laughter in a long time. The camera faded out slowly, the sound of morning birds and Kaduna breeze filling the scene. Fade out. Text on screen. Dedicated to every ordinary person whose kindness changes history. If this story touched you, don't just watch, share it. Comment below where you're watching from and tell us. What would you do if a stranger's kindness changed your life forever? Like, subscribe, and follow for more powerful African stories that remind us truth, kindness, and courage can still change the world.